Good evening, everyone. On behalf of the Global School of Counselling, we welcome you to today's seminar, a happy hour workshop, the ELIXIR of life. On the panel, we have with us Dr. Shobita Shantakumari, Principal of Global School of Counselling, and Dr. Leemamol Mathew, Professor of Psychology, and the resource person for today. So before we begin with, we will be starting today's seminar in a while, but before we begin with, let me ask you a very quick question. What made you all sign up for today's seminar? Well, you don't really have to answer this question, hang in there, as Dr. Leemamol will take us through her tacit knowledge of the psychology, the positive psychology of happiness and well-being. I'll let Ms. Leah Johnson introduce the resource person for today, and we will begin the seminar shortly. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. I'm pleased to introduce our resource person for today's webinar. Dr. Leemamol Mathew is a passionate researcher and a teacher with 20 plus years of experience. She had a good number of publications, including book chapters and journal articles with high index citations. Since 2007, she is an editorial board member of Interpersona, an international journal of personal relationships. Dr. Mathew's interest areas are positive psychology, psychology of emotion, social and cultural psychology, interpersonal relationships, and critical psychology. Since 2013, Dr. Mathew teaches at the Department of Psychology at Bangalore University. We welcome you, ma'am. We're allowed to hear from you, and we're delighted to have you here. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Leah. And I'm sorry, I don't know your name.
That's okay, ma'am. I'm Sonali.
I'm sorry, I didn't hear.
Sonali?
Oh, thank you, Leah, and thank you, Sonali. And let me thank Dr. Shobita Shantakumari for inviting me for this workshop on happiness. Thank you. Yeah, thank you, the workshop organizers. So let's, so today we'll have a discussion on what is happiness and how we can improve happiness, and we can also check our level of happiness. Can you just enable my sharing, screen sharing?
Yes, ma'am, in a bit. Yes.
It still shows disabled screen sharing. Can you enable it, please?
Yes, ma'am. Just a minute, please.
Yeah.
Yes, we're doing it. Yeah. Ma'am, it's enabled. Can you please check it now?
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. So can you see the PPT?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So let's have a look at the positive psychology of happiness and well-being. So today's session, we will have a lot of exercises and we will just check whether we are happy and how we can increase our level of happiness. So the first thing I actually would like you to do is you can just write whether you can answer this question. Are you happy? So I have asked, I hope you have some papers and pen with you. I request you all to make use of your papers. So this is just a general question. Are you happy? So few of you can respond. One or two people can respond whether you're happy or not. Or you can put it in the chat box. But I want you to write it on your paper also. Yes. Anybody? Yeah. So there are many responses and you said you are happy. And the next question, what I want to ask is, can you see the PPT? Can you see the question? What makes you happy? In your paper, you can write down whatever that makes you happy. Maybe for 1 or 2 minutes, you can write. I guess there are many things make you happy. You all are writing. Good. And now I want you all to check with whatever you see in the PPT. I mean, this is not a comprehensive list about the myths of happiness. It is incomplete, but there are many more myths, but I have just incorporated 10 in it. And can you just check if any of these things are there in your list of things which make you happy? Any of these things? Yeah, some of you have something like one person has written 4 and then 3 and 10. So there are certain things in this which make you happy in your list also. But then if we look at happiness as such, these are some of the myths about happiness. So we think that basically these things will make us happy. Today morning, I asked my daughters, they are 14 years and 11 years. I asked my daughters, what makes you happy? And the response, my younger one, 11-year-old, she said, a burger, an ice cream, and then she said, many things she said, many material things. And then she said, maybe if I hug her, that also makes her happy. Okay, so certain things we feel that these make us happy, but then happiness researchers say this won't give us a permanent happiness. Maybe momentarily we are happy. Okay, so we always think that money or good grades, having a good meal or social media. Now we all are behind social media, and we feel that if our phone is not there, we feel that emptiness. Then having things like maybe a car or a big house or things like that, or a partner will give us happiness. That's what we think. Is it true? Then another thing is happiness is a choice. So many a times what we see when you look at social media, so choose happiness. Is that true? Happiness is a choice. Okay. When we say that, it is something like we could just flip a switch and be happy all the time. That is, happiness is a choice. And then sometimes we think religiosity. Many people think religiosity is happiness, but if you look at the studies, like we had this World Happiness Report of 2022, or the earlier reports also. India, our country is, we can say, the most religious country, but then our country's rank is 136 out of 146. Okay, so religiosity, we cannot say that religiosity also make us happy. And then another myth, happiness decreases with age or increases with age. Okay, so here again, I'm bringing my daughter's example. She said, Amma, you may not be happy because you are old. That was her explanation. You are not happy. That's because you are old. So people think that the best life is over when we get old. And another myth is when we are retired, we have more time and we become happy. That is also another myth. What I'm saying is there are many myths about happiness. So the psychology of happiness or the science of happiness tell us that there might be that our minds are lying to us the kinds of things that make us happy. So that is science. So now the question is, now I'm just, because the group is 18 to 24, I believe. If you look at youth and happiness, so maybe you can answer, today's young people, happy or unhappy? That's a big question. If you look at across the globe, research shows that young people are unhappy. Most of them are unhappy, and statistics, I have not put the statistics as such. They are too depressed to function. Then they are overwhelmingly anxious. Then they're lonely most of the time. They're not sure about the purpose of their life. So all these show that they are unhappy. It's not that everybody is unhappy, but majority. But then if you look at the Indian youths, studies have shown that basically in 2006, one survey about happiness, and then again in 2017, it shows that Indian youths' happiness level is better compared to their counterparts of other countries. So that's a good thing for us. But then again, there are research studies which shows that one is a 2013 study. It's about the level of happiness and their willingness or their pursuit of happiness. So it showed that 41% of the youth who participated in the study said that they want happiness, they want to pursue happiness. So that is one research. And then another research in 2018, that is between, people of your age, that is 18 to 24. It shows that there are various parameters of happiness, and many things like the social connectedness among Indians. That is one of the major component, or if that is social connections are there, people are happy. So that way, when we compare Indian youths with other youths, we can see that there is happiness. Okay, that's what the study shows. Now the question is there a science of happiness, or it is just like something we just say, or it is just an emotion which is within us? So positive psychology gives an explanation for this. And when we look at positive psychology, so it is all about how we can enhance, or how we can discover and nurture our character strengths, and thereby our subjective well-being. So that is what is positive psychology. So instead of looking at our shortcomings, it looks at our strengths. Okay, so here one aspect we can ask, what is good in me? Do I have some good in me, or is it all about issues? Recently, I watched a Malayalam movie called Bhudakalam. So in that, I saw a scene where the psychiatrist talks to a patient. So the heroine of the movie, went to meet the psychiatrist, and the first question of the psychiatrist meets her for the first time. What's your problem? The question was, what is your problem? So this heroine, this lady, stared at the psychiatrist for 1 or 2 minutes, and then she just got up and left the room. She never came back. So what is the issue with that question? Positive psychology always answers this question. We are not to look at the negatives of the people. Okay, it's not the problems. We have other strengths, and all the problems or whatever, our life is not to spend for those problems, solving those problems. There are other things. So the best thing is we ask a question, what is good in me, or what is good in him or her? Okay, so here we are finding a positive relationship between me and the other person. So now I want you to do an exercise. I think many of you have started already. So the exercise is write down as many different positive things you can about yourself in a minute. I'll give you 1 minute. Write down as many different positive things you can about yourself. Okay, time starts now. Leah, please, can you check the time? 1 minute.
Ma'am, 5:25.
Okay, just say stop after a minute, please.
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
I hope everybody is writing. This is more like a workshop. So here you get an opportunity to reflect on your emotions. Your emotion, not just your emotions, your strengths, your weakness, everything. You identify your strengths.
Yeah, please stop it now. 1 minute.
Okay, good. So we will come back to all the exercises towards the end. Keep everything. So now the question is, what is happiness? So our today's session primarily focus on happiness. So here I have incorporated the definitions of three important people, three important researchers in the field of happiness. So one is Leemamol. So she says the experience of joy, contentment, or positive well-being combined with a sense that one's life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. So this is what one definition. So here, if you look at this definition, we can see that it captures the fleeting positive emotions that come with happiness. Here, we can also see that along with a deeper sense of meaning and purpose in life. So what we can see is these emotions and sense of meaning reinforce one another. That's what is happening. So it's all about the positive emotions. And then Michael Argyle, he talks about happiness is a positive inner experience, the highest good and the ultimate motivator for all human behaviors. And then we have Seligman's definition of happiness. He says happiness has three dimensions. One is the pleasant life, then the good life, and the meaningful life. The pleasant life is about the positive emotions we have, the past, present, and future. And the good life is all about we identify our character strengths. And the meaningful life is all about how we apply this character strengths for our well-being and the well-being of the society. So if you look at the components of happiness, this is the famous one when we talk about happiness, the PERMA model by Seligman. So here he talks about each one, five components. One is positive emotion, E is engagement, then positive relationships, then meaning, then accomplishments or achievements. So what is positive emotions? So when we look at positive emotions, in one word, what we can say is it's all about feeling good. So what are those emotions? We hope, interest, joy, love, compassion, pride. All these are positive emotions. And here, how we identify our positive emotions, or do we have positive emotions? How these positive emotions help us? How do we identify them? So here, a lot of research shows that identifying positive emotions, it reduces our anxiety, our level of depression or our distress, and it increases our life satisfaction or well-being, or as such happiness we can say. So here I'm asking you to do another exercise. Hello. That is, write down two things that you felt happy today. Write down two things that you felt happy today. So many of you told me you're happy today, and now two things. Done? Probably this is for the first time you are just reflecting on whether you were happy or you felt good with something. So you've done with it? Yes. Okay, good. So now, yeah, I'll be giving some exercises for you to do at home. This in relation with this in relation with positive emotions only, but then towards the end, I'll give that again. And the next is E, engagement. So engagement in the sense how we can forget ourselves and involve in some activity. And how do we involve in that activity? It depends on, Seligman says, find out our strengths. Okay, so basically it is something like practice living in the moment. We all know that many of you have done meditations or yoga and things like that. So if you sometimes when you wander, when you are not involved in what you are doing, to bring back to you in the present, it is something like you snap your fingers. So that is like be in the present. Can you see be in the present? So something like that. So here, living in the present moment and focusing entirely on the task at hand. Seligman calls this as being one with the music. Okay, so here again, it is something like the exercises, your strengths. So when we talk about the strengths, you can just have a look at this. I won't be explaining this. This is what the 6 character strengths or the 24 character strengths and the 6 domains mainly, the six character strengths and 24 virtues. We all have it. This is Seligman's work, and he talks about these character strengths. And then what we need to do is, if at all the engagement, we have to identify this character strengths in us and then work on it. And we have to identify what are our character strengths, and then how you can effectively engage in, you can work with it or involve in that, and you can excel. So here there is something I'm just you can check this, and you can do a test to identify your character strengths. This is Vyas Institute on Character website. They have given a very good test. You can have a look at that and do a test and identify your character strength. Okay. And the next is positive relationships. We all know that we all have positive relationships, and people in India, we value relationships a lot. So which relationship we call as positive relationships? Here, one thing is a lot of research has shown that if you have a positive relationships, it has a very good relationship with your subjective well-being, your happiness. So when we say positive relationship, feeling supported, if you feel you are loved, and if you feel there is somebody to validate your emotions, okay, and you feel that somebody values me. You feel good in a relationships. Okay. And also the other social connections. So here what we can do is develop positive relationships. How? So we can take time to make social connections. We know that now all social connections, it's through social media. Okay. So I don't know how deep the relationships are through the social media. But then when people are around, when you go and meet people, when you interact with people, when you talk to people, when you spend some time with people, the social connection increases. You can be part of a group also. So that way, the positive relationships. So here, get in touch with people you have not spoken to or connected with in a while. But it gives a good feeling. So here again, I'm asking you to do another exercise. Write down 5 positive relationships you have. So remember those relationships, you feel that intensity in it. Okay. Write down 5 relationships, positive relationships you have. Could you find 5 positive relationships in your life? Or do you have difficulty in finding 5 positive relationships? Okay, some of you could find, and in case if any of you cannot with positive relationships, though I have not put it in the slide, when you are angry with a person, what do you do generally when you're angry with a person? Suppose you're angry or with your husband, or angry with a close friend, angry with a family member, angry with your boss. What do? We try to avoid. I don't know. Everybody has their own style. But then what do you do with when you're angry? So there's a good thing in positive psychology to reduce this anger. What you can do is write down some positives about that person. You can write down some positives about that person. When you're angry with your husband, you feel that nothing works out. Sometimes sometimes we feel that it's only separation. But then it's not just with your spouse, but what I'm saying is in any relationships, separation is there. It depends on the intensity of the relationship. So you just sit, relax, and write down maybe 5 or 10 positives about that person. It can reduce your anger and distress. At the same time, it can enhance your relationship with that person. Okay. So the next is meaning. So basically, meaning, Seligman says, it is having a purpose in life. So once you identify your character strengths, in this phase, Seligman says, if we cannot apply those character strengths for the well-being of ourselves and for the society. So something like the development of one's virtues towards an end bigger than oneself. For example, it's not just simple things, or it is something, some kind of conviction we have, and then this is the purpose. So here I have written, it's different for everyone. When we ask, if you analyze your purpose in life, everybody may have different opinion. Okay, so maybe your purpose is to secure a job. Maybe your purpose is to become a good dancer, good actor. So there are different things. Okay, so there are different things. And here the purpose is identify the purpose in your life. Our goal is to identify a purpose in your life. So that is, how do we identify? That is based on, you have written your positive things about you in the beginning. Okay, so that is, it's the positive things about you, and then you identify your strengths. Okay, if you look at those 24 character strengths, certain strengths you identify, and then how you work on that, how you apply that for a bigger goal. So that is meaning. So here an act of altruism is an example for a meaningful life. And then what we have, the last one is accomplishments or achievements. So this is just about achievement, mastery, competence. Okay, so here you can identify, you can write down 3 achievements of yours. Write down 3 achievements of yours. Okay, any achievement which you feel, you are identifying your achievement. It's not that the other person identifies it. We are not talking about objective level of achievements. It's all about how you feel about yourself. Okay. I hope you all can find 3 achievements of yours. Yes. So again, this is, so whatever we discussed, the 5 components of happiness. So each one, when we identify, when we are into it, we can see the changes in ourselves. We can feel how happy we are. So then again, what makes us happy? Again, certain tips for happiness. Or this is again, research talks about the science of well-being or science of happiness. We have already discussed social connection. So you are calling a friend, or you go out and you go to a restaurant, you take coffee, you are alone, but you're there, you go talk to a person. So that is also social connection. It feels good. Okay, so how you can make social connections? You can be part of a group, you can volunteer for some social activities, anything. So social connection, the improvement. And then what you can see is you can take opportunity to help others. So here, one thing what we can recollect is about the strengths we have. So how we help others. We can be kind to others. So kindness, so that we can help others. So maybe you are helping a person cross the road, or some acts of kindness. So basically, happy people, they do a lot of activities to help others. And the third is be thankful or grateful. This I'll be discussing in detail. Gratitude. This is be thankful, grateful. So when we look at gratitude, this is the key to happiness. I mean, or everything, but then gratitude, it plays an important role. So gratitude means be thankful for what we have. So here, grateful responses to life can lead to peace of mind, happiness, physical health, satisfying personal relationships. So gratitude researchers talk about these benefits of gratitude. But then the question is, what is gratitude? So gratitude is a sense of thankfulness and appreciation for life. So it is the appreciation of goodness in others and in oneself. So basically, what we can say is count your blessings and be thankful for that. So Robert Emmons, the master researcher in gratitudes, he talks about two components of gratitude. So one is affirmation of goodness. That is, there are good things in life. We identify the good things. That's one aspect. And then sources of goodness. Who do I give thanks to? Okay, there is goodness. That is, we identify that, and then whom should I give thanks? This is two aspects. So what he says is, through this, our interpersonal relationships, it can be improved. We identify certain things and we connect with people around us. So social connection through gratitude. And we feel that I'm not alone. There are people in my life through gratitude, and we become happier. So here, one thing what we can talk about, a lot of studies have shown that gratitude journaling helps subjective well-being. So here, anything, gratitude journaling, it can work in different ways. You can find out things which makes you, things for which you are grateful. That is, every day you can do it, or else weekly once you can write. So what you have to do is you have to find out certain things or certain blessings in your life. And then you have to write how these blessings, or why do you think why you're writing this. For example, today I'm grateful for my home, or my father, or my teacher. Then you write the reason. Why are you grateful for your teacher? Okay, so write the activity you felt grateful. So that's how you are writing your gratitude journals. So can you write down 2 things today you're grateful for? Just 2 things you are grateful for today. Maybe today I'm grateful for the workshop organizers for organizing this workshop. Okay. Yeah, I'm grateful for attending this workshop. Satyendra has written. So that way, identify 2 things today you're grateful for. It could be something like your husband gave you a glass of water. So you express your gratitude. Okay, your husband gave you a glass of water. So here you see, you were angry with your husband for some reason, but then he gave you water. That is something. And the connection. Okay, so that is also important. Yeah, so somebody has written for free workshop. So that is, you're identifying goodness in everything, goodness around you, identifying goodness around you. Okay, so that identification itself will lead to great connections and your subjective well-being. So done? 2 things. So later you'll have to find many things, not just 2. Okay, so here I'll be giving another exercise for you to do at home for 4 weeks. Okay, so basically, when you are done with it, when you're regularly doing it, you can experience the changes occurring within you. So here, what are the benefits of gratitude? There is psychological, physical, and socio-emotional. A happier you, a fitter you, a better you. There's a lot of research. When we talk about the science of happiness, it is all about the research and how it can change the subjective experience and subjective feeling of people. Okay. So when we talk about happiness, all these things, we know that it is more of a subjective nature. So happier you, positive emotions, and a fitter you do a lot of exercises. Okay, so it helps you. And then a better you, stronger interpersonal communication, pro-social behavior. You are doing things which you never had done in your life. Okay, so you identify the connections, you identify that there are everything, many things are good around me. Okay, so those are the benefits of gratitude. And then again, something like when we were talking about the science of happiness. So 4th point is take time to be mindful. And then time for healthy habits. So healthy habits, mindfulness, I'm giving another exercise. Time for healthy habits. So it is like maybe your a good exercise every day and good diet. You don't eat junk food. Okay. But again, maybe regular yoga. So all the certain healthy habits can increase our level of happiness. Okay. So sleep, 7 hours of sleep is necessary every day, the same time, go to bed, wake up at the same time. So it gives a lot of pleasantness in your life. Enough sleep is required, as an example. So here, when we talk about healthy behaviors, we spoke about the healthy habits also. Then another one is the time to be mindful. So mindful observation, I mean, there are many mindful activities in the sense, basically, it's something like we stop wandering and we are here and now. So it's all about how we can focus our attention, how we can be in the awareness. So the awareness level. So a mindful observation. There are many exercises to be mindful. So this is a mindful observation. The exercise. What you can do is you can just look at this. You can choose an object next to you, maybe your pen or paper or anything. Choose an object next to you. It's not that you need to write. It is that you have to really do it. And how far you can focus your attention, how far you can focus your attention on that particular object. You're not aware or you're not disturbed by the outside sounds or anything. Your mind is just focused on that, this mindful observation or any mindful activities. Okay, choose an object next to you, maybe your pen, anything. You just watch the object for a minute, or what you can do is keep watching as long as you can focus on. And when you are watching, you look at this object as if you're seeing it for the first time. You're just, maybe for the first time when you see an object, you just observe the color, the shape, everything, the beauty of that particular object. Explore its features as much as you can. And explore in such a way that you forget yourself, but you focus only on that. And think of how you can connect with that particular object. So is it something like the use of that object or the energy that gives you? And how do you feel it? Could you focus on that particular object? Do you think your attention got diverted when you are focusing only on that? Or when you are being in the present, when you are quite aware of what you are doing? So what did you feel? Any of you can write. Or some of you felt bored by looking at your object. I don't know, what did you look at? Okay. Yeah. And now I'm sure you all are interested how to measure happiness. I asked you whether you're happy today, and I asked you what makes you happy. And now, how can we measure happiness? So there are good. So there are different ways to measure. We have happiness scales, and then happiness scales will give a quantitative score, it will give, and then based on the score, we talk about our level of happiness. And then there is subjective reports of happiness. Subjective reports of happiness, in the sense, I asked you whether you're happy, what makes you happy. If I ask you, how do you define happiness? Can you write a sentence? How do you define happiness? It's not that I'm not asking the theory. I'm just asking how you perceive happiness. Maybe you can just write it. You will feel good. Write what is happiness. Yeah. Vidhanchali has written enjoying the moment or an event. Good, feeling good, a feeling of goodness and peace. There are, yeah. Anything that brings, yeah, there's a lot of definitions. Anything that brings joy to my heart. Good. Being thankful about everything. Happiness is feeling with peace and hope. Okay. So everybody has their own definition of happiness. So that's how we measure the subjective happiness. Always what we say is happiness is something subjective. We cannot actually measure it objectively. There is controversy, but then we have scales. Yeah, having peace of mind, meaningful experience. So we have Oxford happiness scale and subjective happiness scale. This Oxford happiness scale, today after the class, I will be I'll be sending to the workshop organizers, and you can take a test for yourself. Okay. And then you can rate your level of happiness. And then certain exercises I'll give you. Do it for a month. Take this test again. You can see the changes you are experiencing within you. Okay. So now I'm giving another a test. So this, what you need to do is, I'm just giving you some parameters to check your happiness skills, we can say. Okay. So the first question, what you can do is you can just write yes or no. Yes or no, and a few questions maybe, yeah, we'll read it. The first question, did you smile today? Now I can see all are smiling. So definitely you can write, but then, yeah, everybody is writing yes, yes. So now my question is, how many times did you smile today? So I hope you all are aware that in Delhi public schools, there is happiness curriculum. So there, the children will be asked, one parameter is the smile. So it will show whether the child is happy or not. So that is to increase or make the child smile or laugh more, to improve happiness. Okay, so we know that when we smile, if you're angry also, if at all we get a chance to smile, how certain physiological changes are happening within as we can feel it, right? So the how positive emotions can bring subjective well-being. Okay, so that's what we see. And then second, all these, do you share your feelings with friends or relatives? Oh, you have done with it, this questionnaire? Not a questionnaire as such. This is certain skills I've just put it, and then you can do it. At least 10, almost 50 times the number of smiles. Very good. Subankar. Good. Cool. Yeah, good. So if you look at the skills here, one is smiling, and then next is, do you share your feelings with friends or relatives? It's all about how the feelings do we share. And here another thing is, do we have a friend or somebody, relatives, who can validate our feelings? Okay. And then third is, do you do kind things for others? Kindness. Everything, if I ask this way, I'm sure you will write it as yes. Okay. And then how often do you do physical exercise in a week? 3 days? If it is 3 days, you can put a score of 1. Okay. If it is less than 3 days, put 0. And the next question is, are you aware of your strengths? Are you aware of your strengths? So do we think more about our negatives or the positives? Generally, identify the strengths. We try to look at the positives in you, right? And do you use your strengths creatively to enhance your life? You have a skill, or you are aware that your strength is in social behavior, or your nature is friendly nature, but then you don't want to get connected with people. When you get connected with people, what happens is you are using your strengths for the well-being. Okay. And do you express your feelings of gratitude? Always we tell, it is something like a cliche, thank you, we tell everybody thank you. But then gratitude is something we identify the goodness and we write why it is. Okay. Then do you able to focus on the present moment? Are you all here? Or you're just wandering around? Your mind is wandering around? Do you feel your life is meaningful? Many of us, at many points, we feel that my life is not meaningful. But then how often we feel our life is meaningful? And then, are you optimistic about the future? We've seen many people, oh, it's done, nothing good can happen to me. There are people who talk about, talk in a very pessimistic way. But then the question is, are you optimistic? So optimism gives us happiness. So you can check your score. You can write it down. This is something like I have just explained, but then what you need to do is you look at this and then you reflect about your own skills or your own life. And then honestly check whether all these things are there with us. So now I'm giving few exercises that you need to do at home to increase your happiness and well-being. So exercise 1 is write 5 positive things about yourself thrice a week for 4 weeks. Can you do that? And exercise 2, that is gratitude journaling. So this again, if you are okay to write every day, that is also possible. Or if you want to write on alternate days, that's also possible. And if you don't want to write for a week, but just one day, you can do as I have written. Think back to the events of the past week and write down up to 5 things you are grateful for. Write on every Saturday. Today is Saturday, and then you can just look back to the events of this particular week and you can write down 5 things you are grateful for. And when you are writing it, you can keep it short. You can keep it short, but then you write why you are grateful for. Write that particular event, particular thing, and then why you are grateful for. In 2 sentences you can write, but if you want to write more, that is also possible. And some people feel really good when they explain things. That is possible. So write on every Saturday and write for 4 weeks. And then exercise 3, every night for the next 4 weeks, write down 3 things that went well today and why they went well. So this exercise 3, actually what you can do this, or if you find it difficult, what you can do is identify 3 positive things in a day. Okay, positive things which happen to you. And another exercise is, today you will do a happiness questionnaire and then you will do the same after 4 weeks. And then you can identify, after 4 weeks, in the sense, you have to do the exercise, then only the changes your score. If today it is average, maybe the next day you are more happier, next month you're more happier if you are doing any of all of these, or you can do any one also, but be consistent with what you are doing. Is it fine? And now the last question I have for you is, how good do you feel right now? Hmm? Do you feel good? So it was a journey, but we have only 1 hour time, and then within the time we went through different aspects. Okay, you talked about happiness, you identified your happiness skills, you tried to identify the positives in you, you tried to identify the positive relationships in your life, and you identified few things for which you are grateful. Okay, so how good you feel right now? Do you feel good? There are some responses. Yeah, there are many who feel good. Yeah, some say very happy, ma'am. Good. Very good. Feeling good about myself. That makes me happy. Blessy. I can see only a few faces. One is Blessy's face. Okay, good. So I'm giving you some books for reading, some references. You can have a look at that. All these people are the most important researchers in the field of happiness. In positive psychology, these are the important people who work with the happiness, gratitude. And thank you. I hope all are happy now. And if you have any questions, please ask.
Thank you very much. Thank you, ma'am. It was a very meaningful session and seminar that we had today. We learned a lot, the PERMA model, and how we need to look into the positive emotions, how we engage ourselves, how we manage our positive relationships, and how we have a meaning towards what we live and what we do, and our achievements and accomplishments. We're really grateful for this session and seminar. Now, I would like to give this time to the participants. If you have any Q&A, you can type in your questions there in the chat, and we will ask on behalf of you. Thank you, ma'am. Come closer. So Satyendra is asking, Ma'am, you can stop the screen sharing now. We also have questions from the participants. Satyendra is asking how to deal with disappointments that comes to us from our loved ones.
Yeah, how to deal with the disappointments that comes to us from our loved ones.
Correct. Yes.
Satyendra, the nature of disappointments, it depends on our relationship with our loved ones. So the disappointments, how do we take it, and how do we consider how it becomes a disappointment? It depends on what is the event, and how we handle it. So can you give an example for this?
Satyendra, you can type in chat box.
So Satyendra has written that like we expect something and don't get it in return. Yeah, expectation, of course, in a relationship, expectation plays an important role to become, to get disappointed. So we expect something, and if the other person doesn't do it, so maybe when you come home, you expect that your wife or your husband gives you a hug. But then if you don't get it, it is definitely, it is a point for disappointment. And all your actions will be based on this particular event. So based on what we have discussed just now, so this disappointment, it is based on our expectation, the disappointment. So what we can do is basically we write down, or we reflect on the positives our loved ones have done to us. We can reflect on that, and it may help us.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. The next question is, I find my husband happy even at times where that doesn't foster happiness. How do I understand if he is really happy? This is a question from Rosalind.
Okay. So, so you feel that I didn't see the question. You feel that your husband is acting. He's not really happy, but you feel that he's happy.
I think she meant the same.
Okay. So you can actually. So this is something like objectively you're trying to find out if he is happy. Okay. So what we need to think is, if based on his emotions, how that affects your level of happiness. If that is affecting your level of happiness and how far it is affecting, that you can just check. And it's rather than knowing whether your husband is happy, or if you can analyze in other way, in the sense whether your action or something from you made him unhappy. Just based on a smile, of course, smiling helps us to enhance our level of subjective well-being, but then just based on a smile, we cannot judge that the person is happy as such. Okay. But then when we have certain prejudice against our partners, definitely there will be issues in our life. So it's a better to have better not to think that he is acting or he just inside he's not happy or he's acting. I mean, we shouldn't be making such judgments, I think, to a for a better life.
Okay, we have another question from Aditya. He says, is happiness in some manner related to self-esteem? And we also have a similar question, is hope related to happiness? So
both. Self-esteem tied to happiness, we can say, and also hope as such is part of one of the components of happiness as such, hope. So here when there is hope, we are definitely happier and our actions will be based on that. But then self-esteem also, we feel good about ourselves. We feel good about ourselves. That is the basic thing for happiness. Though we have not discussed, we haven't gone to those aspects. All these are tied to happiness.
Okay, thank you, ma'am. We got few similar questions. I'll read one among them. How do we maintain happiness amidst challenging situation? Like concentrate on what is good. Is that the solution? That's a question from Sabita.
One based on the positive psychology aspects, concentrate on what is good. That is a very good solution. When we say concentrate on what is good, we have discussed many things today. Maybe it is something like when you are really depressed. What we need to do is we can just look at the goodness and maybe start a gratitude journaling. But then again, it depends on our mental state. We may not be able to start a gratitude journaling, or we may not be able to find goodness in others. But then certain things like maybe what you can do is try some exercises, find out the positive relationships in your life. Or when you're really depressed, what you can do is maybe you can write the positives in you. That is possible. It's not that it's possible. Maybe you feel that you can write only 2 positive things about you, but that is enough. Write it. Or again, maybe if you're angry with somebody, you find the positives in that person, you can write that. So that way you can maintain a level of I wouldn't say full happiness all of a sudden, but then gradual. But then when you're really depressed and you feel that that has to go out, you have to talk to somebody, share your feelings with someone. If you feel that when you share your feelings with your relatives or friends, it doesn't give you hope, then what you need to do is talk to her, find out a professional, talk to her, let this go out. And then at the same time, you can work with this, all these happiness, whatever we have, many things we have discussed. You can try one or 2 exercises, what we have discussed.
I guess that's the answer to Anand and Ruksar as well, because their questions also sounded similar. We also have another question from Priya Job. She asks, what is the scope and limitations of positive psychology? Among whom does it give good results? Scope of using positive psychology during practice? Can it be used among depressed clients? What about trauma or any other particular group it is found to be more effective? A complex question, but yeah.
The scope of positive psychology as such, when we look at one thing is it is when we look at the goodness of people, or goodness or potentials in people, what we can say is uh, uh, even in trauma, there are good things happening with people. There are things happening. So uh, in the sense, only thing, we need to make them realize that they have this goodness around them. Okay. For example, but it doesn't work during the death of a loved one. There is a mourning period. But then after that, positive psychology can work. Other things also, like different traumatic experience, but then the trauma, how intense the trauma and how far the person takes to come out of the trauma, all these things are important. But then when we talk about the clinical, even Seligman's work, if you look at, it is not just the problems, but there are positives in people, and we hold on to those positives, it will help people. That is the scope of positive psychology is there.
Thank you, ma'am. The other question from Hepzibah. Happiness is contagious, I believe. Will it help to use happiness assessment scale for recruitments, inducting participants into programs besides other selection criteria? Is that ethical?
Happiness is contagious. Maybe we can say, but then more than that, it depends. It is a pure subjective element. So how far it is contagious, we don't know. But then for a recruitment, from a recruitment perspective, I'm not sure if we can, based on that, we can do a recruitment. Because happiness, we can actually we can cheat people if you are doing a questionnaire at certain times. So that cannot be taken as just one criteria. If that's the only one criteria for selection, I wouldn't recommend that. But then generally, there are things like if the person is aware of his own strengths, and he is aware of looking at his strengths, and then he knows practically how he can apply his strengths to help the organization. Okay, definitely it will help. But otherwise, it may be a little tricky.
Thank you, ma'am. I think with this, we will conclude the Q&A session. I now invite Dr. Shobita Shantakumari to say a few words before we close today's session. Thank you.
Good evening, all. Dr. Lima, thank you so much for this wonderful time. We really had, it was like a reflection session even for all of us, like to know about our strengths, to learn about positive emotions, to understand what we have to do. It was very informative. Thank you so much for gracing us with this time of yours and to give this information that we require. Dear participants, thank you so much for being so cooperative through the session and for the beautiful questions that you had raised. I want you all to understand that this is not the end of happiness. This is, ma'am has just given a opening. It's like the Pandora's box. Ma'am has just opened one part of it and there is more to come. So I hope this has been, this has opened your eyes, this has opened your understanding, and this will help you reflect more upon yourself for your individual growth and for the benefit of the people around you all. Thank you all so much for this wonderful time. I also would like to thank CGLD as an organization, because without the support of our institute, we wouldn't have been able to do this program at this point of time. I would like to thank our tech support team. They have spent quite a lot of time and effort to set this whole program up. Thank you all so much. And my dear faculty, thank you so much for the effort you have put into this. Thank you all. You have a blessed week, and may God bless you in everything that you have to do. Thank you.